Hi everyone, this is Vishvajit again, founder here at Quicko. Quicko is India's leading tax planning and filing platform. We are also Zerodha investee startup. Now, over the next couple of weeks, millions of taxpayers like you and I will be filing their income tax return. In our last video, we talked about basics of taxation, the 5 income heads. We also talked about new versus old regime, different deductions available between both regimes. We talked about the new tax rates introduced for capital gains. We also discussed common mistakes that taxpayers make when filing their income tax return. Now, in between these videos, we got a lot of feedback. A lot of people asked us as to how they can file their income tax returns using Quicko. So here we are. Now, there are only 10 days left, so there's no better time to do this. So let's get started. In today's video, I'll show you how you can file returns using Quicko, how you can use your Zerodha console tax P&L report to file your income tax returns using Quicko. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, there are a few ways to get started. The easiest one is to visit quicko.com. As you can see, I'm already on quicko.com. You can see that Quicko offers tax filing and planning products for individuals. We also help accountants file income tax returns for their customers. A lot of small businesses also use Quicko for their GST and TDS return filing needs. But today we're going to stay focused on personal income tax return filing since the due date is 15th of September. The other very common way is to search Quicko and Zerodha, and you would land on our partnership website. You can also start your tax filing journey here. But most investors and traders start their journey from Zerodha console. Once you log into console, you will directly see in the right top corner, there is a CTA for investors and traders to start their tax filing for this tax season. But before we do that, let's also discuss few recent changes into console. I hope you all have seen video where a console team has talked about the new tax P&L report. I'll also glance over it very quickly, help you understand what are the changes and how it will simplify tax return filing for you this tax season. So in order to download your tax P&L report, you will navigate to reports and tax P&L. Now, what are these changes? As I discussed in my previous video, that finance minister in the last year's full budget announced that there'll be new capital gains tax rate. In order to simplify capital gains taxes, she introduced one flat rate for long-term capital gains, which is 12.5%. She also introduced a new short-term capital gains tax rate at 20%. This went into effect from 23rd July. It also created some reporting challenges, right? So now in your income tax return, you have to bifurcate your transactions between before 23rd July and after 23rd July. Any transaction before 23rd July will be taxed as per old rates. Any transactions after 23rd July will be taxed as per new rates. So in order to facilitate this, Console recently released a new tax P&L report. Now it clearly gives the bifurcation of before and after 23rd July transactions. So let's very quickly glance over it, and then we'll get on our way to filing our income tax return. In order to download your tax P&L report, you can go and select the financial year 24-25. Now, understand, we are filing our income tax returns for last financial year, right? Which was financial year 24-25. As soon as I do that, it selects Q1 through Q4, which is the whole financial year. I'll hit enter here. So here I have an account that we use in order to test Quicko and Zerodha integration. So it has few sample traits, but I think it is enough for you to understand the changes. So on the screen, you can see that I have few transactions. I have few equity transactions. I've specifically done a small intraday transaction. I have some short-term losses as well. If you look at FNO, I have a small transaction in FNO as well. I have some transfer expenses that I've incurred. So I'll report all of this in my income tax return. Now, what you're looking for is the tax P&L report. So once you scroll down, you'll see a CTA to download your tax P&L report. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll store it locally, and then we'll have a look at it. So I've downloaded it. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, the new tax P&L report is very similar to the earlier one, right? However, there are a few notable differences. So up top, you have client information. Of course, you need to make sure that you downloaded the tax P&L report for the right year, right financial year. In this case, because we chose financial year 24-25, the start date is 1st April 24, and the end date is 31st March 2025. Now, here are the important differences. Unlike earlier, now you can see the breakdown of short-term and long-term for before 23rd July and after 23rd July. You can see them right here. What you could also see is the transaction broken down between intraday, short-term, long-term, and buyback capital gains from equity. You can also see the non-equity transactions. So non-equity transactions covers your transactions in, for example, debt instruments, right? If you purchase and sold any bonds or debentures, they would figure here. You also have your mutual fund transactions. Like I said, since this is my test account, I don't have a lot of transactions, but I have few. So hopefully it gives you an understanding. I have an FNO transaction, so it's also reported here. So remember, a lot of customers get confused that when they buy any securities into their account, they come and ask us, what do they need to do about it from Texas point of view? Well, now uh, there are things to consider when you buy, but capital gains or business profession income only arises when you sell these securities, right? So please make sure that you download your Zerodha Console Tax P&L report, look at it thoroughly before you start filing. All right, great. Now that we've looked at the tax P&L report, let's use it to file our income tax return. So I'm going to use some test and dummy data over this session, but hopefully it will give you a complete understanding of what it is to use Quicko's products, how to import your data from different sources, and how to easily review and file your income tax return, right? So I'll start by clicking here. Now what happens here is, once you click on the CTA, it will ask you to authorize access to your Demat account to Quicko. So I'll go ahead and do that. So once you do that, your Zerodha and Quicko accounts are connected. Now that allows Quicko to read your text P&L from within your Zerodha Demat account, right? But before we do that, because I'm using a fresh account, I'll have to first onboard onto Quicko. Now, in order to file your income tax return, the most important document that you need is your PAN. Make sure you have your PAN handy. Make sure it correctly reflects all your information. We oftentimes get people whose date of birth or name are incorrectly mentioned on PAN, right? You can very easily rectify that online. But once you have your PAN handy, I'll go ahead and enter my PAN. All right. So now that I have entered my PAN, I'll hit begin. So what Quicko does, we are an e-return intermediary with Income Tax Department that allows us to connect with Income Tax Department server, help you pre-fill all the information, and also help you file your income tax return, right? So here, using your PAN, we are able to fetch your personal information, like your first name, your last name. Make sure unless you're 100% sure, you don't change this, because when you modify this, you might end up getting other errors later, right? So my data is pre-filled. I'll hit enter. I'll add further demographic information. So I'll add my date of birth. Now, residential status is very important, right? For most of us, it is resident. But for some of you who are traveling abroad frequently, who are working outside of India, or you are just residing outside of India, right? So in that case, please make sure you ascertain your residential status. It's highly likely that your residential status might be NRI. Now, for NRIs, they only need to file income tax returns for their incomes earned inside India, right? For residents, you have to report both your India incomes and your foreign incomes. Now, Quicko supports all of this, so please make sure you correctly choose your tax situation. So I'm going to choose resident and proceed. Fantastic. Now my account is created. I've onboarded onto the platform. My profile is set up. I'm ready to get started. Now, as you can see, we are increasingly building the product, right? So for us, tax is not just a tax filing. It's not limited to tax filing. For tax is a summary of your financial year, right? So all the important financial events happen in your life. For example, if you start your first job, maybe you change the job. You started a new business, you started investing, started doing SIPs, right? So what we want to do is we want to create touch points for all these important life events. There are tools and there's content that you can use to make tax aware financial decisions, right? So I'll give you a very quick overview of the app. As you can see, I'm already sitting on home. You can save, pay, and file your taxes. So save is during financial year. If you want to make any tax deduction, you can easily come here and calculate what are the tax benefits of making that tax deductions or tax saving investment. You can also pay your taxes directly via Quicko. And of course, during the tax filing season, you can come and file your taxes on Quicko. Now, another very important thing that we are building is our investment module. So now hundreds of thousands of investment traders are coming and linking their investment accounts from across brokerages, syncing their P&L and holdings onto Quicko and tracking their P&L in real time, right? So please do check it out. But today, since we are almost 10 days away from tax filing due date, we're going to stay focused on filing our income tax return. Now, the easiest way to start your income tax return is to pre-fill it from income tax department. So let's go ahead and do that. So as you can see, there is a CTA for me to file my income tax return. So I'll go ahead and click on it. Now, three ways to get started, right? Like I said, the easiest way to start is importing all the data from income tax department. Alternatively, you can also upload your Form 16 and start your income tax return. And you can also start your income tax return and later import all the information. What I love about Quicko and building Quicko is a lot of data flows in so seamlessly. You can import it from your, of course, tax accounts, but you can import data from your HRMS, from your brokerages, from your investment apps. We are also beginning to integrate with banks and your crypto platforms, right? So that's something we are super excited about. We think that Texas is summary of all your financial transactions, and hence connecting your Tex app with your investments, your banks, your payroll systems is very important to us, and that's something we are super excited about. So in this case, I'm gonna choose import from ITD using autofill and hit proceed. Now, in order to simplify this this demo, what I've done is I had already connected my income tax account, but just in case you want to know, I had to enter my PAN and date of birth, and it allowed me to connect my Quicko account with my income tax account. Once I've connected, I've also been able to pre-fill data from my income tax account, right? Now, in this case, this is dummy data, but if you connect your income tax account with your Quicko account, you will also see your actual salary, your actual bank accounts, your tax credits. So let's glance over it very quickly, right? So it imported my bank accounts, imported the dummy salary information that I had entered, also imported dividend and interest income. So that's great. It has all the information that I needed to file my income tax return. So at this point, almost 80% of my income tax return is prepared. A lot of people are scared, afraid of getting started. But I think once they get past this stage, they feel a lot more confident because the tax filing journey on Quicko is primarily remembering all your data sources and then going and connecting them. So I'm going to use all this information to start my income tax return. Let's go ahead and do that. As you can see, my income tax return is ready to go. I can review all the tax computations. All the information that was available with income tax department is already inside my income tax return. Isn't that cool? All right, so let's quickly glance over things. So salary information was imported. I have a dummy employer called Acme Industries from where I received some salary. My employer information is available here, the salary breakdown. So now remember, under old regime, there was a 50,000 standard deduction. However, under new regime, there's a 75,000 rupees standard deduction. Quicko automatically calculates that for you. If there were any years deducted on my salary, that is imported as well. So that's fantastic. I really like that. Now let's see if I have any other transactions. Now I do remember primarily a lot of our audience is investor and trader audience. And the biggest problem when you are reporting your capital gains is sifting through hundreds of transactions, if not thousands, right? We have FNO intraday trader who have tens of thousands of transactions. Now, it's very difficult to do it through government utilities. It's also very difficult for chartered accountants to sift through thousands of transactions, right? So we are increasingly seeing that our customers are bringing their CAs onto the platform and they are loving it as well, right? So one of the most popular feature is how easily you can import capital gains into Quicko. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for one of the dummy accounts that we saw at the beginning of this demo. So let's do that. So there are multiple ways to do it. You can import your investments, which is the most preferred way for customers, but you can also upload P&L report. Now remember folks, there are 1,600 brokers in India. We've integrated with top 15 brokers. We're increasingly integrating with more brokers, but it's going to take a while before we integrate with 1,600 brokers, right? We are also asking brokers to generate P&L in a standardized format. So not just Quicko, but all tax platforms can universally access that tax P&L report or process that tax P&L report. So stay tuned. There are some exciting news coming there. All right. So in this case, I'm going to import from my Zerodha account. So these are all the brokers integrated onto Quicko. So let's go ahead and choose Zerodha. And I'll use one of my colleagues' account because he has few transactions. boom. I think it's syncing. So what it is doing right now is going and reading my transactions from my Zerodha Demat account, and it's calculating capital gains on it, and it's already finished. So that was pretty quick. So let me go first and verify the settlements, right? So in my case, in my account, there was only one dummy transaction in order to do this demo. But if you have hundreds of transactions, you will see those imported also in few seconds, right? So in this case, I have one transaction. It's a short-term loss. As you can see, there's a six rupee loss. It also imported information about this particular Demat account. And then on summary, it has calculated and is showing my short-term and long-term gains. Let's very quickly glance over it. So I have my total sales consideration was 264 rupees and total cost of acquisition was 269. There was hence there was resultant capital loss of 6 rupees. Let's see if I can find some other information. All right. So since there are not many transactions here, but if you had a lot of transactions, you would also see the nice categorization of your short-term and long-term gains here across different tax rates, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, since I also have some F&O and intraday trades, I'll also go ahead and import that. Now, remember, your delivery trades are categorized as capital gains transactions, and your F&O and intraday trades are categorized as business profession income, right? So I'll have to go to business profession. And again, I'll do the same exercise. Hopefully this time it will be simpler since I've connected my Zerodha account already. Again, it's offering me multiple choices. I can import from my investment app. I can also upload the P&L report and I can add it manually as well. Now most customers import, so I'll go ahead and import. Again, I'll choose my Zerodha account. Now, as you can see, since I only recently connected it, now it's showing that my Zerodha account is connected. So I'll import data from my Zerodha account again. So remember, I'd shown you at the beginning of this demo that I had I think one F&O transaction and there was a one intraday transaction. So let's see if it imports it. So again, it synced all the settlements into Quicko, and then it calculated intraday and F&O P&L for me, right? So in the summary, it shows that my gross revenue were 397, the cost of security sold was 397, so hence my P&L is 0. But as you can see that in F&O, I have some losses, right? So there's 47 rupees loss, and that's also accurately calculated here. Since there was no set off happening, all of the losses are remaining. They can be set off against other income heads, so we'll also see if that happens. It also very quickly calculates my profit and loss statement and also prepares the balance sheet. Now, a lot of trader investors are not familiar with financial statements, right? So you have profit and loss statement, which is essentially summary of all your incomes and expenses and the resultant P&L. And you have your balance sheet, right? So any business has assets and liabilities. So your assets are, for example, if you're a trader, the balance with broker, bank balance, if you have any furniture and fixture that you use in order to trade. Now your liabilities would be if you have borrowed capital from friend and family, from a financial institution, right? If you have invested money using your own savings, then it also reflects as a liability on your business, right? So remember, traders and investors report their F&O intraday trades as business profession income. In case of sole proprietors, the PAN is same for the individual as the business. However, when you report your business profession activity in your income tax return, you have to separately furnish the balance sheet for your business, right? So the good differentiation is anything related to your business activity goes on your business balance sheet, right? So please make sure you furnish your balance sheet. For most of us, it's pretty straightforward. It's primarily on the asset side. We have our bank balance with broker. If we hold any securities in our Demat account, that also goes as assets. And on the liability sides, it's mostly proprietors capital. That means the money I brought into my Demat account to do trading. But sometimes people have borrowed money from friends and family and financial institutions. So make sure that you add that information while filing your return. Now, that being said, this was pretty easy. Another cool thing that we have consistently worked upon is how do we make sure that while the product remains open and easy to import data into, we also identify any gaps in the data, right? So remember, filing income tax return used to be really tedious. It's hundreds and hundreds of data points. Now all of that is getting imported, but there might always be some gaps, right? For example, when we go to Zerodha, while we get P&L information, we don't get your balance sheet information, right? So as you can see here, it's asking me that there is a pending action. I have to add balance sheet. It also indicates the same using this small red badge here. So that's pretty helpful. So I'll go ahead and add some assets and liabilities in my account. So like I said, for most traders and investors, it would be primarily bank balance. So I'll just add some amount here and hit save. And like I said, for most of us, it's our capital that we are investing. So it will also reflect on the liability side as proprietor's capital, right? So I don't want to overcomplicate that. Now that being said, hopefully the error should go away. So let's see if it goes away. Fantastic. Now the error is gone. So I have imported my salary income directly from income tax department. I've imported my capital gains from my Zerodha demat account. I can also do it from my other demat accounts. It's as easy as we just saw. I have also imported my F&O and intraday activity from my Zerodha account. It had already imported my dividend and interest income from income tax department. Now, how does that information flow to income tax department? So every quarter, the deductor or whoever is paying you this incomes, right? So in case of dividend, it's companies. In case of interest, it's banks. So they have to file TDS returns. And in those TDS returns, they are recording that against your PAN, this much interest was paid, this much TDS was deducted and deposited with income tax department, right? So that is the information income tax department has, and that gets pre-filled inside your income tax return. Now, one of the most important text document is something called AIS, Annual Information Statement. We talked about it in my last video. So we'll also link it here in the corner. So please make sure you go through that, right? So when you file your income tax return, all the information is pre-filled from your pre-fill JSON, which in turn is pre-filled from AIS. However, I'll always suggest when I file my income tax return, I have my AIS always handily available just to make sure that all the information in AIS is reflecting in my income tax return. So folks, please make sure you do that. All right. So now that all my incomes are sorted, now like some of my colleagues who actively manage their taxes, they opt for old regime, they make tax saving investments. I have decided to opt for new regime, just like a lot of taxpayers have, right? As per income tax department statistics, about 75% taxpayers have now opted for new regime. A couple of years ago, new regime was also default regime, right? So now if you want to opt for old regime, you have to file certain forms. So in my case, because I've been filing under new regime, I don't have to file any additional forms. There's a lot of confusion around Form 10 IEA, which is the form you need to file in order to switch regimes. I'll very briefly talk about when we get there, that what is the confusion and how can you very easily avoid it. So in my case, it has also imported this sample deduction that was there in my sample data. So it looks like I have some employer's contribution to NPS, which is still deductible under new regime. So I'm getting some deduction for that. So that's great. That's all the tax savings that I have in my income tax return. But I see a lot of taxpayers who are still opting for old regime. They have home loan interest, they have exhausted their all the tax saving investments like ELSS, and they've done LIC policies or other kind of health insurance policies and things like that. So if you are somebody who's opting for old regime, one thing I would like to bring to your attention though is, unlike previous years where you can just enter the amount and get away by claiming the deduction, starting this year, it has become a lot more complicated. Now you have to put all the additional supporting details, right? So if you are, for example, claiming, let's say ELSS deduction, right? Then you will have to put your demat account number. If you are claiming health insurance policy, then you will have to put your insurer name and the policy number. If you are claiming, let's say, interest deduction on education loan, then again you will have to put financial institution's name and the loan account number, right? Outstanding loan amount and the total loan amount, right? So there is a lot more complexities now. There is so much more information that you need to report. So the easiest way to determine if the new versus old regime, which regime is beneficial to you, is to click on this here, view tax comparison. Now this is the USP of Quicko, right? Because it's built by people like you. We are engineers, we are product people, we are not accountants. Of course, there are accountants in the team, but our goal is to help you tell your personal finance story, right? So we want you to, as and when you prepare your income tax return and you enter data, we want you to continuously look at the calculations, right? We want you to look at your taxable incomes. We want you to look at your tax regimes, we want you to look at how losses are adjusted. We also show really extensive breakdown of your tax computation. So please take advantage of it. Continuously review tax computation. You'll understand your taxes lot better by doing so. So in this particular case, let's very quickly look at it, right? So on a new regime, based on this particular scenario, 11,35,000 rupees in income, and here it shows the comparison between new regime and old regime. And it's showing me that I'm saving 95,000 rupees under new regime. So I don't think I need to opt for old regime. I didn't make any tax saving investments, etc. So I'll continue with new regime. So let's go ahead and look at the other data points required. Now, tax credits. Now, these are all the tax credits that either in form of TDS or reflecting against your PAN, or if you have paid any advanced tax, self-assessment tax, right? So for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a test tax payment, right? So I'm going to use Quicko to do that. So I'll go ahead and click on pay via Quicko. And then it has already autofilled. So this is where a lot of taxpayers make mistake, right? They either choose the wrong type of tax to pay, wrong year. So which is why we built out this tax payment. Now here your money goes directly from your bank account to income tax department's bank account, right? We just wanted to make sure that you generate the challan correctly. So what I would do is I would click on pay. And it's asking me if I want to make this tax payment. I'll click on continue. So once I confirm the OTP, what it is doing is it's generating challan for me. So let's see if it does that. Great. So it generated challan for me here, and it's giving me two options. So UPI hasn't been enabled yet, but what you could do is choose bank transfer. And now this is an income tax department generated RBI virtual account, and you can directly transfer money here, right? And your taxes will be paid. Your challan will show the status paid. So for now, I'll just click on I've paid. Now this is how we are solving taxes for customers, right? So there are small things where oftentimes people get stuck. They end up paying wrong taxes for wrong year, wrong bucket, wrong minor head, major head. So we don't want you to face all those challenges, right? So which is why we've built out this pretty cool tax payment module. So now that I've done that, it will start tracking it for me. We'll give it a couple of minutes and it will show that it is paid. Great. So I paid taxes and now it's reflecting in my income tax return. As you can see, the pop-up where it was asking me to pay additional taxes is gone now. Now let's go ahead and review and file this income tax return, right? So far what I've done is using prefill, I've imported all the information from income tax account. Using Zerodha, I've imported my capital gains and F&O and intraday transactions. I've also paid any additional taxes that I needed to pay. I reviewed all the information. Now I think I'm ready to file my income tax return. So let's go ahead and do that. Awesome. So folks, remember, here on the screen, as you can see, it's showing me an error. I need to work on something. So it's saying previous ITR details. Now remember, I told you about new regime versus old regime and how new regime is default regime. So in order for taxpayers to properly opt for or switch regimes, what income tax department now requires is number one, your previous year ITR details, right? So they want to know whether you file ITR 1, 2, 3, 4, what regime you opted for. And if you filed ITR 3 or 4, they also want to get the acknowledgement number of Form 10 IEA. Remember, acknowledgement number of Form 10 IEA. What we see is a lot of taxpayers enter the acknowledgement number income tax return. So you don't need to report acknowledgement number of income tax return. You have to report the acknowledgement number of Form 10 IEA. So let me go ahead and do that. Since I've been opting for new regime, there is no need for me to, but however, I file ITR 3 and I'll choose new regime. There's no need for me to put Form 10 IEA acknowledgement. So I'll hit save. Now that error goes away. I can click on review and e-file one more time. Great. So that error went away. Because I am not switching regime, there is no additional disclosure required. However, in your case, if you are opting for old regime, then make sure you go under tax regime and you switch it to old regime. Once you save, and let's say now if I try to file my income tax return, it's now giving me a complaint that I need to also file Form 10 IEA. Now, this is because the first year that am interested in opting for old regime, it's asking me to file Form 10 IEA. Now, what mistake a lot of taxpayers are making is that they had in the last year opted for old regime and they had already filed Form 10 IEA, and they are prematurely filing another Form 10 IEA this year. Now, when you do that, you are in fact communicating to Income Tax Department that you want to now switch the regime and move to new regime. However, their intent was actually to continue to opt for old regime. So, two things. Number one, if you've already opted for old regime by filing Form 10 IEA, you don't need to file the Form 10 IEA again. And only when you want to switch the regime, you need to file the Form 10 IEA again. So please be sure when you're filing Form 10 IEA, in case you're confused, seek help. There's a lot of help available. There are qualified accountants all over India, but there are also a lot of qualified tax experts on our platform. So seek help. All right. What happens is once you file Form 10 IEA and you come to us, there'll be very little help that we would be able to provide. Okay, so I'll go ahead and revert my situation. I do not plan to opt for old regime, so I'll revert back to new regime. And I'll again review an e-file. So great, it now says everything looks okay, and I think I should be able to file my income tax return. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll click on proceed to e-file. Awesome. So now I can see the final summary one last time before I file my income tax return. Now remember, when you e-file your income tax return, all you're doing is uploading your income tax return onto government servers. You still have one more opportunity, right? So remember, you have to e-verify your income tax return before it gets processed, which also means that if you feel that you've made any mistake, you have an opportunity to discard that ITR. Now that ITR will be completely voided. It will not be considered, and you can again file a fresh ITR. You can do so using Quicko as well, right? But what I would suggest is you review your income tax return one final time before you e-file it. What we have also done is we provide the tax computation summary. So let's very quickly download it. And it shows all the important information, right? So it shows me my personal information, but then also shows what ITR is getting filed. So in my case, one of the perks of being founder at tax platform is I have to file my income tax return over and over again in these kind of demos. So in between the break, I went and changed my filing type to revise, and I also entered my previous original income tax returns acknowledgement number so that I can give you this demo, right? But down here, there is also a tax computation summary. So all the things that we saw while preparing the income tax return are already reflecting here. My tax dues are 0, which is why I'll be able to file my income tax return. But down here, there's also a breakdown of my computation of income, right? So it shows my total headwise income. It also shows me the breakdown. Any losses adjusted. In my case, the situation was very straightforward. There were PNP losses. Those losses got adjusted. So as you can see, some of my FNO losses got adjusted against income from other sources that I had. It also shows carry forward losses. So because I pre-filled information from one of the sample pre-filled JSON, we had some data which had carry forward losses or brought forward losses from earlier years. So those are again getting carried forward. So you can see that amount. My gross total income is 1135,708. The total chapter 6A deduction, we saw the deductions when we were preparing the return were 27,000 and some change. So my total income is 11,08,230. My tax liability is 66,234. And the total taxes I've paid also matches that amount. So you would be able to see it down here. So total taxes that I've paid is 69,291 is the total tax payable, and total taxes paid is 69,290, right? There's a small difference here, but income tax department allows a rounding difference up to 10 rupees. So which is my tax dues are 0. So that's fantastic. Now let's go ahead and file my income tax return. Okay, folks. So I hope it was easy to prepare the income tax return. Now it's also very easy to file income tax return. So let me show you how it's done. So once I click on e-file income tax return, because my income tax account is already connected with my Quicko account, it will automatically upload my income tax return onto government servers. So great, it already did that. It confirmed to me my income tax return is successfully e-filed. It also gives me acknowledgement number. You can store it for record keeping purposes. However, you would have also received an email from income tax department. Awesome. So that's how easy it was to file my income tax return. I'll e-verify it later. I have up to 30 days to e-verify my income tax return. So I'll say I'll do this later. Now Quicko starts reflecting my up-to-date tax filing status. Now remember folks, the due date is 15th of September. There are only a handful number of days left. Don't wait till the last moment because a lot of people would be looking to file their income tax returns. The government servers will be slow. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait for an extension announcement. We don't want to be taking all that risk, right? File your income tax return on time. It's this easy to file your income tax return. Along the way, if you get stuck anywhere, then feel free to reach out to us. We are available on all our social media handles. We are also available on help@quicko.com. So once you send an email at help@quicko.com, it results in a ticket and gets assigned to one of my team members, and we're constantly replying and helping as many taxpayers as we can to file their income tax returns on time. All right, folks. So best of luck. I hope this video was able to help you understand how to file your income tax return. Happy tax filing.